Good morning. My name is James Monroe. I'm with Accurate Electric Unlimited, and this little training snippet is a familiarization with Vicon Valerus. It's a video management system that's used in prisons and jails and county lockups all over the West Coast. It is relatively new. It was released in July of 2017 and is rapidly becoming a pretty popular video management system, or VMS. So it's a web browser interface now, and it uses Internet Explorer, and then you actually have an application server, and you just basically dial in the IP address of your application server, and this is what shows up. Just to give you a quick familiarization, the tree of the cameras are pretty much like all VMSs. It's on the left-hand side of the screen, and you got your viewing area, and then you got your management keys on the top here. Depending on how your system is set up, you can actually set it up to automatically boot up into Vicon Valerus, or you can actually have logins with Active Directory configured as well if you'd like. This training session is designed for operational use. I promise not to nerd out as fast as possible, and then and keep it simple. So this is familiarization. And so you can actually change your views. If you would like to have a view that is a little bit more complicated or simple, you can. I'm going to actually go into a quad view or a 2x2 view. All I have to do is click on the icon, and with my left mouse button, I'm going to drag and drop different cameras into the different views. You don't have to go in any particular order, and you can place the cameras any way you want to. And there you go. Now you got the camera views set up the way you want it. It is a digital system, so sometimes on how busy your system is, it does take a moment to clean up the views there. You can go into full quad view by selecting that icon and then selecting the other one again. And then now you're in full quad view. I'm going to allow it once. And now you can see all the camera views all at the same time. You can leave this on for your entire shift, or you can just look at it for 15 minutes. It doesn't matter. I'm going to hit the escape key just once, and I'm going to get back into my my regular management mode. Each one of these camera views is a different process. I can actually double click on any camera view, bring it up to full screen view, and then double click it again to get into the previous view again. Each one of these camera views, unlike previous versions of VMSs, is an individual process, and it's pretty interesting on how they accomplish this. You can actually go back and look at a recorded view while looking at live views at the same time. You don't have to get into a different program area where you lose your live views. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use I'm going to change some camera views here real quickly. So in order to change camera views, you do have to hit the X. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select another camera view with a little bit more action. Whoops, I hit the same one. Let's try something else here. There we go. So I'm looking at two camera views on the top. They're identical, but I want to go back in time on the one on the top while looking at the live view on the right. So this little congruent symbol here, the 3 bars, if you click on it once, the camera views will stay up there. If you click on it where they're sideways, the camera view or the different options go away. So I'm going to click on it once, and I'm going to leave it in that view. And you'll notice it has different little symbols across the line here. So I can export, I can configure, I can zoom, I can go into playback mode, which I'll explain in a minute, and then I can go into a thumbnail search. Now thumbnail search is not like the previous Viconet versions. Thumbnail search has to be configured for very specific cameras. So don't be alarmed if you can't do a thumbnail search anymore like you could with the Vicon system. It has to be programmed. Always ask your contractor to see if it's in the cameras are compatible with thumbnail search view. The playback mode, I'm going to click on it once, and you'll notice that a red line comes up on the bottom there. If you have a red line, that means it's being recorded. And you can go back into time to figure out how long your recording time is just by hitting your clock. And you got a little schedule that comes up. Very typical, very traditional. I'm going to go back in time. And the earliest recorded time I have on my system is July 25th. All I have to do is do the math and figure out how many days of storage I have for 16 different camera views. You'll notice that the recorded lines there are shown up in red. And what's happening is it's being erased because I've got limited storage on my system there. So whatever was first recorded, once the hard drive is full, it's being deleted as we talk. So I'm going to go one more date ahead of time here. The 26th is full, obviously. So notice when you move your mouse arrow across the top there, it sort of gives you a little video shots of what the camera views are like. And so I'm going to go 6 p.m. on this particular date. All I have to do is click on it once. And now you'll notice there's a difference in the camera views. This one over here is playing at 6 p.m. on 7/26, while this one here is playing in real time on August 11th. So there's different controls that come up now that you're in this playback mode. I call them VCR controls, for lack of a better word, because they use the symbols of the VCRs, if you remember what a VCR was. I'm hitting the play button there, and it's actually seeing stuff. I can actually go forward in time, fast forward. So you'll notice that the 2X there comes up. Every time you hit the fast forward icon, it actually increases. And you can go to 1,000 times the normal rate of real time, which is very fast. I can hit the pause icon, and I can also go back in time. I hit it once, it's going back. I hit the fast rewind. Every time I click on it, you'll notice that it's getting faster and faster, up to 1,000 times. I'm going to go ahead and hit the pause button again. There's a little subtlety on the controls. I'm going to zoom in on this by double tapping the view. And you'll notice that right now it's in pause mode, and I can actually go a frame at a time, click it, and it'll actually move a frame at a time. You can sort of see the leaves in the picture view changing every time I click it. The moment I hit play, it converts that next frame icon to fast forward. Sort of a subtle difference. You don't have a lot of controls up here, and they try to keep it as simple as possible, and which makes it really good for investigative work. You can fine-tune your searches within just a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and double tap again, and you'll notice I come back into the quad view that I was in before. Going back to the controls, in order to turn this bar off, I got to switch back to live view, which if I click on that icon there where it says the triangle with a red dot in it, it comes up with a little reminder button what that button it is. It says live. I'm going to click on it once, and now I'm back into the live view. And you'll notice that the icon on the top there is blue. If I click on that, it'll turn that off. And now I'm in live view, and it's matching 1:1. I'm going to go ahead and double click on this again, and you notice I got the same controls over here on the right. So what I'm going to do is show you another feature. It's called a digital zoom. I'm going to click on it once, and you'll notice a little square is coming up over here. You can actually set your target area with your left mouse button. You can actually do a little triangle. Whoops. There we go. I'm sorry, I'm in the live view area, and I can actually do a little triangle. And now I can move this box around, and I can zoom in on different features. That's somewhat over pixelated. This system here in the demo is actually an analog camera going into an encoder. It's not a digital camera. So if you got a wheel on your mouse, I'm using the wheel to zoom out, and as far as you can go is going to be in real time. I'm going to zoom in just a hair, and you'll notice that the box is changing at the same time. You can grab the box with your left mouse button and move it around. Could come in handy. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the zoom mode off, and the next icon over is the configure button. For operational use, we recommend that the configure button remain the area of expertise for your technicians to configure the different cameras as they come along. There's so many variations, it would be extremely difficult to cover in this particular training class. And then you've got the export utility. The ability to export video is actually a separate video, not part of this video. Alright, going across the top bar here, you'll notice that we got the command bars. We've got something called a dashboard. This little icon here tells you how many videos you have waiting for you after export, which again is a separate training session. You got your date and time, and then you got your user level on who's logged into the system. One final thing I'd like to cover with you is the dashboard. Click on it once. It gives you a status of what your system is. Like, for example, I've got a warning here. I do have a digital camera assigned to the system, and I've got something called an event subscription failure. I never did register that particular camera onto the system. I was just using it as a test. But it does show you that you got a warning there. It still works, but you should probably call your technician. Application server, NVRs, and cameras. Alrighty, in order to get out of that and go back into the monitoring mode, you just click your tab at the top. Configuration for the entire system, I'll briefly go over it with you, but again, you should probably leave that to your facility technicians or your contractor to manage for you. You can actually see how many cameras, how many NVRs you got on your system here. I only have one NVR. Gives me my IP address, and it tells me everything is working fine. Cameras and encoders, I click on it once. It takes a minute. But it tells me I've got one encoder on the system. And I've got 16 analog cameras assigned to it. And my status bar is fine. Make and model number is always important for your technicians. User management, that is a separate training class and a separate video for this as well, which you can actually see who your users are, who's logged into the system. Then finally I'm going to click on System. Again, mostly for your technicians or your contractors. Tells me that I've got all the licensing is intact for my all my cameras and my system. And then finally, you have the ability to back up and restore the configuration of the application server. I'm going to go back to monitoring, and just to let you know, even though I was in the different screens, everything was still being recorded in the background. If you have any questions, feel free to call us at that phone number. I'm more than happy, or you can email Accurate Electric Unlimited. Just type in James at AccurateElectricUnlimited.com. Thank you.